I listen. What's good, everybody? We got an absolute banger for you today, so you want to lock in for the entire episode. Get you something cold to drink because you in for an absolute banger today, bucko. Be sure to slap that like and subscribe button, and remember, this entire video is strictly for entertainment purposes only. Don't believe everything you hear or see on this video. It is just theories, not facts, for context. With that being said, let's dive in.
You've seen this video where Bill Hader literally shapeshifts into Tom Cruise and then Seth Rogen. Check it out.
And I go, yeah, I'm friends with Judd Apatow and Seth Rogen, and they went to your house and went, yes. They did come to my house, and I said, Seth Rogen was like, it was amazing. He has like a bike track in his backyard. It's phenomenal. and I did a Seth Rogen impression, and it was like I did a magic trick. Tom Cruise was like,
I don't mean to be rude, but I cannot tell you how many people have sent this to me telling me to check it out because Bill Hader is a shapeshifter. But it doesn't take much research, people, not at all, to just go find the original clip.
And I go, yeah, I'm friends with Judd Apatow and Seth Rogen, and they went to your house and went, yes. They did come to my house, and I said, Seth Rogen was like, it was amazing. He has like a bike track in his backyard. It's phenomenal. and I did a Seth Rogen impression, and it was like I did a magic trick. Tom Cruise was like,
No shapeshifting, just AI or a good filter. And people have been sending this to me for 2 years. And for 2 years, I've been saying, it's just a filter, people. And look, I realize that was a little bit ahead of time for what most people think that AI has come out with. But AI has been here for thousands of years. It's literally how they wrote all our fake history textbooks. AI isn't new. They're just slowly releasing it to the public, but they've been using it forever. And I'm not even saying shapeshifting doesn't exist. I'm just saying this isn't it. Bill Hader could very well be a shapeshifter, but if you want real instances of shapeshifting, let me show you.
Clint Eastwood.
Wait. Now, this is real shapeshifting. Yeah, Jim Carrey can do impersonations, but his head and his hair and his ears, it's moving in ways that isn't normal.
Not my boy Jim. No!
I truly think they have holographic technology that can disguise them and allow them to get away with things that they shouldn't be able to get away with. Like fully disguising their faces or shape-shifting to other characters. Just watch how some of this moves. That's shape-shifting.
No, he's just talented. Leave Jim alone.
And I have a couple more examples I'm going to show you. And what is he? He's a fallen angel. I put a lot of money that Jim Carrey is an actual fallen angel. And have you ever seen when John McCain saw General Petraeus shapeshift? I'll show you the whole thing and then get back to this.
About the message we are sending in the region, about whether we're actually going to stay or not, and whether we're going to do what's necessary to succeed rather than set an arbitrary timeline. And the best way to...
Shocked.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, they say. Because he's shapeshifting. Yeah. And they're hiding him. They're hiding him.
We're going to recess now for a few moments.
This might be what they might have caught him. Let me stop before y'all start saying I'm shape-shifting. But he might have started. You know what I'm saying? You might not know. And then you see how they changed the camera? We can't see all the... facial shape shifting going on.
Hide him.
Okay.
Now, I've done a full video on this, but watch his face. He's morphing, shape-shifting, and when he walks away, there's even more. And again, another video I've already done in full is Elvis shape-shifting after he kisses this little girl. And weird things start happening, like his hands glitching out. And not only him, but this guy that walks around behind him. This guy, watch this, I'll show you closer. Watch when he walks back here. It's subtle, but he walks by and goes from that to that to...
I did see something real quick. I did see it. Because when he walked behind him, it was like his face did go pale for a second.
This guy, watch this, I'll show you closer. Watch when he walks back here.
We got a Draco reptilian. This may be the first Draco reptilian, I think, 100%.
And not only him, but this guy that walks around behind him. This guy, watch this, I'll show you closer. Watch when he walks back here.
Draco reptilian. Damn. That's wild. This is crazy, guys.
It's subtle, but he walks by and goes from that to that to that. Remember, they tell us in the movies. And if this isn't weird enough for you, or Elvis's eyes bugging out, well, tie it all in to this clip I found. I'm going to make this connection for you for the 1000th time. The Statue of Liberty is actually Lucifer. It's as clear as day once you just give it a little look. And the Statue of Liberty had an original face that matched somebody. And
You put the wig on him? That is wild. It looks just like him.
that matched somebody. And they changed it so you wouldn't know who that statue was worshiping. And that guy you think died, he didn't die. He just faked it and became someone else. Someone that a lot of you are still worshiping. And that's where they want you. They want you worshiping the fallen instead of the Most High. I mean, look at that hair even, for crying out loud. But of course, all this for entertainment purposes. People, I know there aren't really shapeshifters out there, and I especially know people don't fake their death and become other people. And they definitely don't tell us the truth right in plain sight, and shapeshifting fallen angels definitely aren't among us. All for entertainment purposes. I'm a satire account, and this has been for your entertainment only.
What an absolute wild ride. You guys know me, man. I try not to do celebrities or get too political on here, but I thought the shape-shifting was in my territory, so I definitely wanted to check that out. But that guy behind Elvis, that had to be some of the best shape-shifting footage I've ever seen. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. What was it? Are they reptiles? Are they Draco reptilians? Are they demons? What was it?
First, we line the property with crushed eggshells, cascarilla. That's spiritual work. It seals the land. Blue bottles catch wandering spirits.
Red brick dust guards the doorway.
One traps bad energy before it enters, the other stops it at the threshold.
The horseshoe upward keeps blessings in, downward guards the home, and the broom upside down seals it.
First, we line the property.
Do people really do that? To be honest, now that they said something, I think when I was playing Red Dead Redemption 2, they had hanging bottles like that. And I do think it was a ghost scene right after that, too. How crazy is that?
The remarkable works of Canadian inventor John Hutchison has drawn widespread attention from businessmen and government scientists since 1979, when he began using ultra-high electromagnetic frequencies to transform matter in some very unusual ways. It's come to be known as the Hutchison effect.
It is a form of levitation by translational movement, meaning that the objects become lighter and can float around. Physics of it is self-resonation of what they call ferromagnetic and piezoelectric, barium type name. Basically, this kind of material powering motors.
Hutchison hopes his simple shake and bake method of producing these crystal energy converters will attract investors who can see the potential of permanent batteries which never need charging. Hutchison's more dramatic experiments border on the paranormal and have generated more than just a passing interest from U.S. military research labs.
We've had about 750 demonstrations of levitation, translational movement, metallurgical samples falling apart, changing into transmuted unknown metal, quite a variety of obscure types of effects, wood impregnated into metals, other objects in metal.
In this remarkable series of video clips shot by Hutchison, we see what happens when he fine-tunes the electromagnetic frequencies aimed at target objects in his garage. Ice cream in a plastic cup. And finally, a 70-pound cannonball.
Is interesting and also frustrating about his invention is that he's using a combination of Tesla coil and Van de Graaff to produce a very disruptive and lifting experiments, which in one case, for example, actually lifts a 19-pound bushing toward the ceiling. That's from electromagnetic fields. Now, when we analyze that, we find that there's position versus time graph that we can plot, and also the velocity versus time. But when we actually analyze the acceleration versus time, it's an increasing straight line. So we're forced as scientists to admit that we have a third derivative effect, which, for my mind, actually lends itself to an anomalous new force, which I call hyperforce, because we have to take a derivative of that to finally get a flat, straight line, a constantly increasing acceleration. So the Hutchison effect has been used as a benchmark for a comparison to many other high-voltage propulsion devices. Electrogravity, in other words.
The remarkable works of Canadian inventor John Hutchison.
Absolutely fascinating. This video looked like it was taken about 20-30 years ago, so there's no telling how they were able to fine-tune these crystals and levitation. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I love this stuff. And if you do too, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. It helps the channel out, helps us grow, helps the algorithm out, and get us out there.
You know how they say history is his story and that the victor writes the story? Have you thought about that element in regards to the Great Wall of China? Listen to this, because this changes everything.
Hold on. You're telling me the Great Wall of China isn't just long, it's impossible.
Exactly. People say it's 13,000 miles, but they don't really process what that means. That's 4 times the entire U.S. stretched coast to coast, plus another 1,000 miles, and it was started in 220 BC, before Jesus, before most empires even existed. That's the point.
But how does an ancient civilization build something that massive without modern machines?
It took over 1,000 years. No empire commits that kind of time unless they're terrified of something. And here's the part nobody talks about. The steep defensive side, the battlements, they're facing China, not the outside.
So the wall wasn't built to keep people out.
It was built to keep something in, and some researchers even claim it may not be Chinese at all, but a leftover structure from the old Tartarian Empire. If that's true, then you have to ask yourself, what were they trying to contain?
Okay, so you can fact check this for yourself through imaging and compassing. The defensive side of the Great Wall of China is pointed to inside of China. So to me, that either means they're trying to keep something in, okay, or that it was an empire on the outside of China that built the wall to defend against the inside of China. Or maybe, so that would indicate actually, it wasn't likely Chinese people who lived in China who built this wall with defensive systems and battlements and armaments pointed into China. It's just a bit strange. Now, all I'm saying is we've been lied to about so much. We get lied to in the news about what happened last week. Is it such a stretch, woo, to think we've been lied to about something that happened thousands of years ago? I don't think so. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and follow for more.
Every time I see the Great Wall, I think of that, and they're saying they're trying to keep something out or in. I think about that movie Great Wall with Matt Damon. If you guys haven't seen that, I highly recommend it. I'm not saying they was fighting these alien monsters like in that movie, but it could be a possibility. Who knows? When you start digging into these ancient wars of how the Anunnaki, the custodians and the Greys were trying to defend stuff, and there's ancient wars that they seen on the chronovisor. You know, we really don't know what they was trying to fight. It could have just been empire versus empire battling. We don't know, but one thing's for sure is the Great Wall is massive, and it might not add up. We might need to go to ChatGPT and say, how long would it take and what would it really take? Because ChatGPT would expose and tell you, well, if they use this many bricks and had this many people, it should take this long. Or they could have just been battling baby dragons. Who knows? You know, dragons could have been a problem back in the day. That's why we see them all on their zodiacs, and the Japanese and China, you know, they talk about China so much. In Mulan, I think they believe that their ancestors call upon a dragon when they need one. You know, what was his name? Mushu, the little, the red dragon played by Eddie Murphy. You know, they had to summon him to, you know, help Mulan out. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what they believe. I don't know. Alright guys, it's that time of the day again. If you thought you weren't going to get another excellent specimen of the day today, think again, bucko! Hutchison. Hold on. Somebody dropped in the comments and they're like, Chuck, it's Hadouken. No, this is an upgraded form. When I say Hutchison, that's my upgraded special ability. You know, I know it's Hadouken. You know, I was playing Street Fighter the other day. When I say Hutchison, that's my word. It's the Zen at the end. Hutchison. Hutchison. Alright. Now back to it. We have an amazing cuprite. It's an old variety of a red octahedral cuprite coexisting with the geothite originating from Anawi. I don't know what that means, but this specimen is crazy. The rating for this is going to be off the charts. I'm just going to let you guys know. Not off the charts. It's not better. For it to be off the charts, it would have to be better than that alien eye. And there was a couple other ones. This is up there though. I like it. The rating I'm gonna give this, because of the fire hot Cheeto crust on the outside. You got some purple octahedrals slowly transitioning into those raindrop spherical like minerals. It's a lot's going on here. You know, it's a lot for your brain to process looking at this. The texture, the different shapes in the inside. I would give this a 9.4. And I would call this the Alien Cheeto Comet. The Alien Cheeto Comet. You know, it's like the Alien Cheeto Meteorite. Matter of fact, I'm gonna change it up. Instead of comet, it's gonna be meteorite. The Alien Cheeto Meteorite. And I'm giving it a 9.4. What would you guys name this? This video is strictly for entertainment purposes only. Don't believe everything you hear or see. These are just theories, not facts. For context.
If what this man says about the moon is true, then we have been completely lied to about our entire reality. Listen to this.
You put food out in the sun, it gets dehydrated. If I put food out in the full moonlight, it gets putrefied. It putrefies really fast. So it rots. It's exactly opposite. And then you can also, at nighttime, when the moon is full, you can pull out a thermometer and put it out in the light of the moon, right? And let's say that, as an example, the thermometer reads 70 degrees in the full moonlight. If I put it in the shade of the moonlight, it actually gets warmer. And I pull it out, it gets colder again. So the moon's light is cold. It's not hot. So it's not reflecting the sun. It has nothing to do with the sun. That's what I mean by it's its own light. And that's a simple scientific experiment. Anybody can do it. Thermometer. I don't know if you've ever done it, but I've lived in the northern climates before. And a lot of times if I park my car under a tree, I'll come out to my windshield, into my car in the morning, and half of my windshield will be frozen and the other half won't be. It's happened many, many times. And I never really thought about it until a few years ago, and I put it all together. I'm like, wow. The reason it frosted over is because the full moon light hit that part of the windshield, and this part was underneath the tree in the shade.
So we're rotating around the Earth, the sun.
Exactly. I'm proposing to you that the sun and the moon are moving around us, just like it looks like. They are the same size, not 400 miles further, bigger, and 400 times further apart. It's very much the same. The sun and astrologically speaking, I think the moon has just as much of an impact as the sun on us. One is our conscious side, one's our unconscious side. One's gold, one's silver, one's hot, one's cold. From our perspective, the moon and the sun are the same size. From our perspective, but they tell us, science tries to tell us that we're going around the sun and the moon's going around us. It looks like, and from our experience, it looks like the sun and the moon are different. They're the exact same size. They have power. We can feel their power.
Now, I have done that experiment with the thermometer in the moonlight versus the shade that the moonlight casts. And it's true. So logic would tell you if the light from the moon is colder than the shade that's cast by moonlight, that the moon is not reflecting light from the sun and that it's self-luminous. Furthermore, don't you think with the conquesting and setting up civilizations all over the place, don't you think if we could go to the moon, that there would be a Walmart on the moon by now? Or they'd be drilling for oil on it? Or there'd be a McDonald's? And why did Buzz Aldrin say that we lost the technology to be able to go to the moon? Isn't that kind of a strange thing to say, given that we are allegedly advancing technologically every single year? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and follow for more.
Yeah, I wonder what Enoch, sun and moon, R.H. Charles. Alright, I just punched in Enoch, sun and moon, same size. AI overview says yes, the book of Enoch, specifically 1 Enoch 72 and 37 and 78:3 states that the sun and moon are of equal size. The text describes them as having the circumference that are alike, and that they diminish not in size, even though the sun is described as 7 times bigger than the moon. Key details regarding the size of the sun and moon in Enoch. Equal dimensions. Chapter 72:37 explicitly states, as regard to size, they are both equal. Heavenly bodies. The text presents them 2 great luminaries or lights that move in chariots, driven by the wind through portals in the sky. Man, could you imagine being able to see in the spiritual dimension, and you're just looking at the moon, and all of a sudden you see a literal chariot? I don't know what it looks like, if it's horses, if it's some type of mechanical device. I don't know the shape of it, but it's in the spiritual realm. And imagine that just pulling the moon and sun. You know, I take it literally when I see, this stuff. Like, I'm literally thinking, what is going on here? Heavenly bodies. The text presents them as 2 great luminaries or lights that move in chariots, driven by the wind through portals in the sky. Dang. What if these portals are just like boosters to like make it fulfill its solstice? You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm kind of envisioning here. While the Book of Enoch claims they are physically the same size, modern astronomy, NASA, confirms that the sun is roughly 400 times larger than the moon. There's something extremely interesting I want to share with you guys that I noticed the last eclipse we had. When we were looking over eclipse patterns or movement, especially over the United States. Let's see if I can get the movement. Okay, here it is. Beautiful. Okay, guys, I want you to take a look at this solar eclipse path, right? I was watching some footage last year and I just found it incredibly interesting that we could see the full size of the shadow path, right? Is there some type of way we could take the dimensions of the shadow and calculate the distance? And could that possibly be the true size? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I know there's people a lot smarter than me watching me, very wise out there. So that's just something that just crossed my mind while we're speaking about size and dimensions. Is could we take the shadow's dimension versus like the length or height of the light source and possibly get a true size? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Because if we go to the book of Enoch, chapter 72, the entire chapter is worth a read. It talks about daylight savings time. It talks about the solstice. And they knew this way back in the day without any, well, we don't know, to be honest. They could have had telescopes. I don't take nothing from them. And right here at the end of chapter 72, it says, so it comes that its course becomes daily longer and its course is nightly shorter. And this is the law and course of the sun, and his return as often as he returns 60 times and rises, the great luminary which is named the sun forever and ever, and which thus rises is the great luminary, and so named according to 37, its appearance according to the Lord commanded, as he rises so he sets, and decreases not, and resteth not, but runs day and night, and his light is sevenfold brighter than that of the moon, but as regards sides they are both equal. So they're saying the sun is shining a lot brighter, but when you really boil it down and you look into that little, you really shouldn't be looking at it, but that little blue part inside all the sunshine, that little blue part inside the sunshine is the same size as the moon. And now talking to the moon. And after this law, I saw another law dealing with the smaller luminary, which is named the moon, and her circumference is like the circumference of heaven. So heaven's a circle? Interesting. The circumference of heaven is a circle. And her chariot in which she rides is driven by the wind and light is given to her in definite measure. There goes that beautiful chariot in the spiritual realm, dragging the moon. That would be a sight to see. And her rising and setting changes every month. One thing I noticed about chariot? Didn't Enoch get swooped up in the chariot? They're always talking about this chariot that's moving different stuff. Maybe we need to dive into chariot. Because that's got me thinking, guys. all the times chariot was in the Bible. There's nearly 200 times they mentioned chariot. I think we have literal chariots, and then we have spiritual chariots. Like referring to David in Chronicles 1:18-4. Didn't Ezekiel say he saw some chariots? Let's see the Ezekiel. What did Ezekiel say about chariots? Wow, look at this picture. How interesting is this? Are those seraphim? Those don't look like angels. Those might be seraphim. And then we got... what is that in the background? I know there's Ophanim, there's seraphim, there's different angels. I believe these are two different angels right here. Interesting. It reads, "Now as I looked at the living creatures, I saw a wheel on the earth besides the living creatures, one for each of the four of them. As for their appearance of the wheels and their constructions, their appearances was like the gleaming of a barrel. And the four had the same likeness, their appearance and construction being as it were a wheel within a wheel. When they went in any way their four directions, without turning as they went, and their rims were tall and awesome. And the rims of all four were full of eyes and round. And when the living creatures went, the wheels went beside them. And when the living creatures rose from the earth, the wheels rose. Wherever the spirit wanted to go, the wheels, wherever they went, and the wheels rose along with them. For the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. When those went, these went. And when those stood, these stood. And when those rose from the earth, the wheels rose along with them. For the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels." Interesting. Could this be some type of context of what could be dragging the sun and moon possibly? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Because when we go back to Enoch chapter 73, it says, "And after I saw another law dealing with smaller luminary, which is named the moon, and her circumference is like the circumference of heaven, and her chariot in which she rides is driven by the wind and light given to her in definite measure." Could this chariot be what he described in Ezekiel? That's just a quick way of, Ezekiel really broke it down for us. I'm like, look, this is what it looks like, y'all. How beautiful is that? And they're just saying her chariot. It could be different, but I can see a correlation here. Could this be dragging the moon and sun in the spiritual realm? These 3 eerie ads aired shortly after 9/8+3.
But personally, I am just so sick and tired of these taxes.
Why do you always do this?
Every time you get a paycheck now, most of it goes straight to the government.
Hey, keep it down. You want somebody to hear you?
I'm just saying, I'm the one who's making the money, and I have no say-so.
You know what you're saying. Just calm down. You want him to ruin your life? They can do that, you know.
May he bless you and keep you. May he grant you peace. Amen. Thank you all for coming. I'll see you all next week, and please be careful going home.
Excuse me. I can't seem to find these anywhere.
These books are no longer available.
I didn't know.
May I have your name, please?
Why?
Excuse me.
What did I do?
We just have a couple of questions.
Easy, easy.
But personally, I am just so sick and tired.
Electricity, life, they just go hand in hand. So help welcome Paul Babcock.
We're electric beings. We live in an electric field. We actually have two bodies. We have sensing systems. And so this little thing that started out with an MWO that I thought was just for me and my own health turned into this understanding that I think is probably the most important subject that I've ever come across, and how it all crystallized and what it means, and the theory, the electrical theory, and the Tesla's radiant field mechanism that we all live within is probably the number one subject.
Basically, the torus field that we live in on Earth, I believe, is what he is referring to.
That all of us really need to focus on. So the term beneficial field technology came about years of studying and experimenting with all kinds of devices, passive and active. Most of them were like the Lakowski machine. They were created for other purposes, you know, by other innovators for purposes eliminating disease, improving physical vitality and health for humans, plants, and animals. And in the beginning of this journey, I thought it was all for me. So I turned myself into a test bed. And so did some other people. They used me as their test bed. And the one thing I came across, and thank God to the spiritual aspects I've always lived by and the guidance, spiritual guidance I've got that gave me a different aspect, is I realized nobody can understand this stuff. I can't take my oscilloscope to it. I can't test it. I can't use instrumentations to define any of this stuff the way it really works. And then I went back to what I really knew from a very young age, is that we are scientific instruments. And the only instrument I was going to be able to use to understand this stuff was me. Here's my backyard. We're going to show how I learned all this stuff. So right here's my MWO. I got seams of quartzite. So here I live on a granite rock. I lived on this rock for 20 years. Everybody that knows me has been there and sees this, but this is the Spokane Valley. This was buried under 400 or 500 feet of lava rock for about 20 million years, and then the great Missoula floods came along and they carved out the Spokane Valley and left this exposed, and now I live on it, and the MWO is sitting right in here, and it is tied to this rock quartz structure, and I found that the MWO is highly interactive with the Earth's atmosphere electrical system. That's why it works, because I can see the effects when they happen. That's how I know it. There isn't a camera that can take a picture of it, and I wish I had an instrument that I could take pictures of it for you, but that doesn't do it. And so, just like the stones of Karnak and the pyramids, I'm basically living on a quartz pyramid, and I've got a beneficial field generator hooked up to it. And trust me, it works. everybody knows discoveries about supposedly there's ancient pyramids all over the place. The government goes digs them up, doesn't tell anybody. So the one that was discovered in Alaska in the 80s, I heard that in the rumor mill. I mean, every third person is a military person in Alaska, so the rumors, you know, that leak out are pretty intense. And so as I'm talking, he says, yeah, that pyramid's real. And they blew it up. And I'm like, well, why would they do that? A total mystery to me. Oh, no, they don't. They destroy the functioning of these things when they find them. And I'm going, oh, that's stupid. Well, now the answer to me is quite plain. If you want to take over the life force generating mechanism of the earth, and there's an ancient life force generating stabilizer, an enhancement system built that's already still functioning partially, you got to destroy it if you want to take over, right? And then here we put the essential energy light tower in it. Now with this thing is probably one of the most powerful things I come across, and you look at it and you go, it's plates of stainless steel. I still don't understand the technology, but I know what it does. So another bad thing we have in our atmosphere is RF.
I seen these before. I seen people talking about these before. Like someone would be right here and these two things will like supercharge them. I don't know the effects or what type of vibration or what it does, but I have seen these before. Is this like the ancient med bed?
The higher the frequency, the worse. Why do you think they want 5G? Because they want to control the life force generating mechanism, that electrical mechanism of the atmosphere. 5G interrupts it. The biophotonic system interrupts it radically. So what this thing does is it puts the coherence back to the field. That's a theory. So when you put this thing,
I believe we're on 6G right now, aren't we?
In a space, it conditions the space around it and restores the actual biophotonic process the way it's supposed to work. It takes the electromagnetic effects right out of it, and it works. And when you put this thing into an MWO, watch out. But it depends on the day, and this is where I learned about solar alignments and new moons affect the electrical process of the earth. Water is a big orgone battery. That's why the underground aquifers. I realized, gee, draining out the aquifers is not a real wise thing to do because they're part of the electrical process of the earth. They're part of the orgone life force generating mechanism. So, to the future, that's why we're back to Eden. So now that we know this, we get our sensory perception back. You know, we've been basically meat puppets, and there was a reason for that. Because it made us learn. It made us look at it from a different perspective. We wanted to be a technological society. We have reasons why we created technology and explored that three-dimensional way. But now we're to the level to where we're back to the garden. And we incorporate this knowledge. What do you think we can do with our next civilization? And that to me is we don't have to build pyramids. So it's tools of the mouse army. It's basically our weapons of peace. And so what we do, worldwide implementation of this simple technology around the world will actually help do exactly what the ancients did and stabilize and enforce and improve this life-generating mechanism. So if we're all living in real high levels of biofield energy, what's that do for your health, your longevity, the workings of your mind? All our issues get fixed. It's a fundamental precept of ancient civilizations is you turned it into a garden before you moved into it. And we are fully capable of doing that. And we don't have to ask permission because we don't need nuclear power plants. This is simple technology. The light tower, and I'll testify to this from having personal experiences, there's no way I can measure it with an instrument and write you a white paper and say, here's my proof. But I can tell you it conditions miles around it, and there's more and more of that evidence coming. crops grow better, everything does better. An incredibly powerful.
Electroculture is what I believe it's called. If you're doing a garden this spring, you're starting it, drop some copper rods in there and tell us how it goes. I did it myself, and I've noticed, you know, my strawberries did a lot better. The hornworms eventually got my kale, but for the copper rods I placed inside my strawberries, it definitely helped. I even seen dragonflies and butterflies land on my copper rod too. Wow, how fascinating was that? By Paul Babcock. We are all electric beings. That was fascinating. I really did enjoy that. I wish there was more to that.
Integrated empaths develop what I call witnessing presence, the ability to hold space for others' experiences without absorbing them, to offer wisdom without attachment to outcomes, to love without losing themselves. Jung understood that true empathic service requires self-possession. The integration process teaches you that self-care isn't selfish. It's the foundation of authentic empathy.
Today was a fun one. I really liked this episode, man. If you made it this far, be sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Find the bell icon. Turn notifications to all. If you have your remote watching on the TV, 70% of my viewers are. Pick up that remote, start clicking around till you find that up arrow. Till you find the like button. Smash that for your boy. Find the bell icon. Turn notifications to all so you get notified as soon as I post. And I just want to thank you guys for hanging with me. The code word for today, moon. Go ahead and drop moon in the comments below. When you do that, that shows me you made it all the way through the video and you really rock with your boy. And I do my best to heart every single one because, you know, you're a real one. You really rock with me. And I just want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for hanging out with me. I love you guys. And this was the most mysterious TikToks on the internet today. Be on the lookout for another post over at Jet Ski Chuck coming soon. Catch you later.